Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place that helps you sift through research to gain momentum and insight, without all that information overload. And look, if you've ever set a huge goal, maybe a New Year's resolution, only to find yourself, burnt out or quitting by February, this deep dive is definitely for you. We kind of have to face a painful truth here. The traditional way we tackle goals, it's often just a recipe for, self-inflicted failure. I mean, our sources point out that something like 92% of people completely fail their big resolutions.
92%, that's staggering.
Right, and less than half even make it 6 months. But that failure, it isn't really because you lack willpower. It's more that the system itself, it just breeds guilt and shame and, eventual quitting.
That failure rate, it's often the consequence of just running on autopilot, isn't it? Setting goals based on obligation, maybe pressure, rather than real alignment with yourself. So our mission today is to shift that completely. Mindful goal setting, it's not about ignoring the future or becoming passive, not at all. It's really about bringing this sharp awareness to why. Why are you choosing this specific goal?
Okay.
And that internal awareness, it kind of acts like a shield.
A shield? How so?
Well, it protects you from all the noise, right? The cultural expectations, the perfect lives you see scrolling on social media, maybe what you think colleagues expect. If you just rush into it, you end up setting goals based on what you think you should do.
Ah, the shoulds.
Exactly. So the very first step in this dive is to ask yourself, are these goals truly serving my life, or are they serving some external image of success?
Okay, so let's start where we often go wrong then. These outcome-based goals, they sound logical. I will lose 50 pounds, or maybe I'll earn 6 figures this year. But you end up tying your entire sense of self-worth, your future happiness even, to hitting that one specific fixed result. It's very binary.
Binary. And the problem with that binary setup is it's pretty simple. If you don't hit that number, that arbitrary fixed point, the voice in your head just screams failure, and boom, your motivation tanks instantly.
Right.
So the psychological pivot we need here is to move the spotlight. Shift it away from that distant future result and shine it really brightly on the process right here, right now.
So we're talking about effort-based goals. Okay, can you define that a bit more and maybe defend it? Because my first thought is, okay, if I only focus on the effort, like going to the gym daily, how do I know I'm not just spinning my wheels on the wrong thing if I never see the outcome I wanted?
That's a really fair question. Effort-based goals focus entirely on the actions you take, the things you actually do, regardless of the final achievement. So think of it like this. Instead of the outcome goal, I will be less anxious this month, which is hard to measure moment to moment.
Right.
You set the effort-based goal. I will spend 15 minutes meditating each day. That's the action.
Okay.
And the defense, the reason it works, is in the immediate benefit. Even if your anxiety isn't completely gone right away, which it probably won't be.
Yeah.
The act of meditating, that effort, still provides real physiological and mental benefits. It's a positive reinforcement right there in the moment.
Ah, okay. So you get the win just for showing up.
Exactly, which builds consistency and helps you avoid that all or nothing crash when you miss the big target.
I like that. You're giving yourself credit for the commitment itself, not just the end result. But commitment alone can feel a bit hollow if the goal isn't actually meaningful, right? We need that deep intrinsic motivation, the famous why. Our sources really push for this, like almost childlike curiosity here. If your goal is, say, lose 20 pounds, ask why, and then ask why again, maybe 5 times, until you peel back all the layers. You might find you want to lose weight to feel confident. Okay, why? So you can start dating. Why? Because you want a partner. Why? Because deep down you crave that stable, loving family life.
That iterative questioning, asking why repeatedly, it's absolutely essential. Research actually shows we often chase goals that have zero passion behind them simply because they're influenced by others, what we think we should want.
Right.
But the moment you connect that goal to something that genuinely sparks excitement, something that aligns with who you fundamentally are, that is the single biggest predictor of sustainable success.
Okay, so if goals are the specific steps, the actions, we need something deeper guiding them. Which brings us to the foundation, intentions. What's the the working difference between an intention and a goal?
Good question. Intentions are more like the foundational guiding principles. They focus on your desired state of being, how you want to feel or show up. Goals, then, are the specific, measurable outcomes or actions that kind of emerge from that intention.
Okay.
And intentions, crucially, are kept purposely a bit vague, and they're forgiving, like, I want to nourish my body, or I intend to prioritize my mental health.
And that's the kindness, isn't it? There's no pass or fail with an intention. It's like an internal compass, not a fixed target you either hit or miss.
Exactly. And the very act of setting them is a form of mindfulness. It creates that immediate awareness around your internal desires, your emotions, and how you actually want to show up while you're pursuing those specific goals.
So how do we set these meaningful intentions? It sounds like discovering core values, finding your essence.
Precisely. You have to ask yourself, what is my essence? Who am I really at my deepest core? Maybe you realize you value, say, simplicity above all else, or freedom, or creativity.
And this is where the alignment piece becomes so critical. I saw a great example in the reading. Someone might fixate on making more money. That's the goal they set. But when they dig down with those why questions, they realize they don't want money just for the sake of money. They want it because they associate it with a core value, like freedom.
Yes.
And the minute they realize freedom is the real driver, well, suddenly they might see different paths to achieve that feeling of freedom, not just a bigger salary.
Exactly right. Aligning your goals with these discovered core values, it contributes to what psychologists call conative balance.
Conative balance, okay.
Yeah, mindfulness practice actually improves this psychological balance. It helps ensure that the desires and aspirations you set are, let's say, reality-based, oriented toward genuine happiness, both for yourself and, importantly, for others too. It grounds the whole process, so you're setting wholesome, life-affirming goals, not just chasing some external validation.
Okay, this makes sense. We have the mindful foundation, the intention, the why. Now, the practical side. How do we actually execute on this tomorrow morning? How do we take that kind, forgiving intention and translate it into effective daily action without just falling back into those old, rigid, outcome-obsessed traps?
Right. The execution. We blend them. We still need structure, absolutely, but it has to be structure that honors the process we've been talking about. Let's look at the micro level first, the daily stuff.
Okay, the daily practice. I think the first strategy here is just start small. Really small. Focus on tiny, daily, achievable efforts. The sources mention things like making your bed, reading just 10 pages, or journaling for maybe 5 minutes.
Yes, and the psychological boost from starting small is huge. It keeps your focus really tight on the present moment, on today's effort, and it builds that reliable foundation. And coupled right with that, you have to consciously enjoy the process. This means actually pausing to celebrate those small wins. Acknowledge them, no matter how minor they seem, before you immediately jump to the next thing on the list.
So savoring the small steps.
Exactly. That's how you reinforce that effort-based mindset we discussed.
Okay. And the third micro strategy.
Actively attach emotion to the effort. If your deep why is tied to feeling, say, free or joyful, you need to deliberately connect that feeling to the action you're taking today, even the small ones. That passion, that emotional investment, it's like rocket fuel for daily motivation.
Got it. Small steps, enjoy them, connect emotion. Now, what about structure? Do we just throw out things like SMART goals?
No, not at all. This is where we integrate that external structure. We don't need to discard every conventional planning method. Systems like SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, they're still incredibly valuable.
Really? But doesn't using something measurable and time-bound kind of contradict the whole process over outcome idea?
It can seem like it, but not if you anchor it correctly. The key is to use SMART goals as a clear, measurable guide for your effort. The framework helps you track progress. But critically, you have to ensure that the R relevant is deeply, truly aligned with those intentions and core values we talked about earlier. The why.
Okay, so the SMART framework tells you how to track, but the mindful foundation tells you what's actually worth tracking in the first place.
Precisely. The structure becomes a tool, not the master.
That makes sense. And finally, the part we all experience. Dealing with setbacks. Falling off track.
Yes, the human element. That's where self-compassion and resilience come in. The research uses this nice metaphor. Setbacks aren't like a straight line failure. They're more like natural waves in an ocean. They will happen. Mindfulness is the tool here. It allows you to adjust, don't abandon. So if your effort-based goal was, say, 15 minutes of meditation daily, and that just becomes unsustainable for whatever reason.
Yeah, life happens.
Right. You don't just scrap the whole intention of being more mindful. You adjust. Maybe try 10 minutes 3 times a week instead. You adapt the effort.
Okay, so it keeps the focus on what you can control, your actions, your effort today, and helps you maybe let go of attachment to those big external outcomes that sometimes get derailed by things totally outside your control, like world events messing up travel plans or something.
Exactly. Letting go of that rigid attachment is key. Now, let's shift gears a bit and dive into some of the really compelling psychological findings that directly back up this whole approach. Because the stats linking mindfulness practice to goal regulation, they're quite extraordinary.
Oh yeah. Give us some numbers.
Okay, get this. Individuals who actively incorporated mindfulness while they were pursuing their goals reported a pretty striking 40% increase in goal achievement compared to people who didn't practice mindfulness.
Wow, 40%. That's significant. That's a huge return just for shifting awareness.
It really is. And this connects directly to a key concept the researchers talk about called conditional goal setting, or CGS.
CGS. Okay, what is that exactly?
CGS is basically the mindset, that inner belief system, where you regard those really high-order parts of life, things like happiness, self-worth, feeling good about yourself, as absolutely contingent on achieving some specific lower order goal.
Like that voice saying, I can only truly relax, or I'll only feel worthy if I get this specific promotion, or finish this degree, or lose those pounds.
Precisely. It's that if thinking about your fundamental well-being.
Okay, so what did the research find about mindfulness and CGS?
The key finding was really clear. People who cultivate high dispositional mindfulness, meaning it's just part of how they operate, are significantly associated with lower levels of CGS.
Lower, okay.
Yeah, they tend to relate more flexibly to their goals. They understand, maybe intuitively, maybe explicitly, that their core happiness or self-worth isn't actually dependent on hitting one specific fixed outcome. Mindfulness helps decouple that self-worth from the external achievement.
That feels like where the real power lies, doesn't it? It dissolves that toxic contingency. But I have to ask about that fascinating, almost like warning label you flagged in the research about early meditation practice.
Ah, yes. That nuance.
The sources said a brief initial period of loving-kindness meditation, which sounds positive, actually caused some participants to become more rigidly attached to their difficult goals. That seems completely counterintuitive. Why would a practice focused on kindness and happiness do that?
It is counterintuitive, and it's a really profound nuance. It shows that self-help isn't some one-size-fits-all magic pill, right? So this effect occurred specifically in participants who were already low in something called goal re-engagement ability. Basically, people who really struggled to find new sources of meaning or new goals when a current one became blocked or unattainable.
Okay, so they were already kind of stuck.
Exactly. And the theory is that for these individuals, the intense early focus of that particular practice, using phrases like, may I be happy, may I be well, might have unintentionally intensified their attachment to the only existing path to happiness they could see, which was that difficult fixed goal they were already struggling with.
So they focused the positive intention onto the existing fixation instead of broadening their view.
That seems to be the idea. They hadn't yet developed the broader perspective or flexibility needed to find alternative ways to fulfill that wish for happiness. It really highlights why doing that foundational work first, the internal work on values, the why, is so crucial before you start rigorously chasing down specific goals, especially difficult ones.
Wow. Okay, that puts a really important asterisk on the whole conversation. Context matters hugely. It's not just the tool, it's how and when you use it.
Absolutely. Context is everything. And the final piece of this research puzzle connects to autonomous motivation.
Autonomous motivation.
Yes. The research shows that mindfulness practice causally promotes, meaning it actually helps cause the setting of new goals that are autonomous.
And autonomous means?
It means you pursue them because they are inherently fun or interesting or deeply aligned with your core values. They come from within. These are the opposite of controlled goals, which are the ones you pursue mainly to avoid shame or guilt, or maybe just to chase some external reward or approval. And this high autonomous motivation, which mindfulness helps cultivate, is consistently linked to greater goal progress. Plus, it acts as a powerful buffer against all that external pressure we talked about earlier.
This really brings us full circle then. Mindful goal setting isn't passive at all. It's an active two-part practice. You need that sustained focus, like training the mind daily through effort. And you need that deep, honest reflection, constantly checking back in, checking alignment with your core values, your why. It's about being fully present in the moment while still actively moving in a direction you've thoughtfully chosen for yourself.
Beautifully put. And as you maintain that mindful movement, that daily effort, you constantly have to manage this kind of dual state attention. One source described it really nicely as switching between the spotlight and the floodlight.
Spotlight and floodlight. Okay, explain that.
The spotlight is your intense focus, right? It's measuring the effort, setting the specific SMART goal step for the day, doing the task. It's absolutely necessary for execution.
Right, you need that focus to get things done.
But if you only operate in that spotlight mode, say, you're laser focused on counting how many times the players in white pass the basketball in that famous experiment.
The selective attention test.
Exactly. You risk completely missing the person in the gorilla suit walking right through the middle of the court.
Because you're too narrowly focused.
Right. The floodlight, on the other hand, that's your broad, diffused awareness. It's what allows you to notice unexpected opportunities, maybe new experiences, or alternative paths that open up outside the narrow path you originally set for yourself. It sees the wider context.
Okay, so you need both. The focused execution and the open awareness.
You need to cultivate both.
So the final provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe carry into your efforts this week is this. In your ambition, in your drive to achieve, are you so laser focused on the spotlight of your daily tasks, your to-do list, that you risk missing the beautiful, unexpected gorilla walking right through the court of your life? How can you practice cultivating both that intense, necessary focus and that expansive, open awareness simultaneously as you move forward?